If your kid can recite every fact about a dinosaur or about Minecraft, but cannot find their shoes, start a simple task, or hold it together after screen time ends, that is not a behavior problem. That is a struggle with executive function. And once you understand what it actually is, so much of what feels confusing or frustrating starts to make sense. I'm Mary Ellen, and I share practical support for neurodivergent families when everyday life feels harder than it should. This is part of my Parenting Neurodivergent Kids series. If you're new here, this series is designed to give you the foundational pieces that help everything click into place. Today we're talking about executive function, what it is and what it looks like in real life, and why understanding it helps change how you respond to your kids. And honestly, how you see yourself too. Okay, let's get started. Executive function is basically your brain's management system. It's a set of skills that help us plan, organize, start, manage time, regulate emotions, and shift between tasks. Think of it like the CEO of the brain, except in a lot of neurodivergent kids, and honestly, a lot of neurodivergent adults, the CEO is either overwhelmed, undertrained, or running on no sleep. And here's what's important to understand. Executive function is not about intelligence. Some of the brightest kids that I know, kids that can hold enormous amounts of information, who are creative and funny and deeply perceptive, cannot coordinate the steps to get out the door in the morning. These two things can absolutely exist in the same child. The main areas that executive function covers are time management, organization, planning, task coordination, and emotional regulation. I want to walk through each of those because they probably show up in your home in ways that you recognize but maybe haven't had a name for yet. Time management is probably the area that most people associate with ADHD, and for a good reason. Time blindness is real. It's not that kids don't care about the time, it's that their brain doesn't track it like other brains do. Time either feels infinite or it's suddenly gone entirely. In our house, we live by alarms. I mean that literally. We have alarms for waking up, we have alarms for medications, we have alarms for nap time, ending screen time, for putting on shoes to get out the door for appointments, for when to transition to schoolwork, and for during our school day as well. Not because my kids are incapable, but because their brains need external cues that other brains generate internally. And that's what my brain also needs. There are so many things going on inside it that using alarms as a tool helps me delegate some of that mental load out so that I can focus on other things. And this is especially compounded when you add distractibility into the mix. When your brain is easily pulled towards something interesting, time just disappears. You look up and an hour has already gone and you have no idea where it went. It's not laziness or being inconsiderate or even avoiding. That's just how your brain is wired. Now let's talk about organization. Organization is where I feel the most mental load personally. And I want to be honest about that. My kids lose their pencils, their notebooks, school materials, so much so that I've even had to reprint entire workbooks because we couldn't find them anywhere. And this has happened more times than I would like to admit. One of mine loves to craft and to draw, but man, that mess that he leaves behind is quite significant. Our homeschool room is in a constant battle between being a creative place and being completely overwhelming. Here's something that I've noticed with my kids, and maybe you've seen this too with your own. They'll make a mess, not clean it up, and then they won't want to be in that area anymore because the area is now visually overwhelming and overstimulating. So they just move to a new spot. And the cycle begins in the new location. Visual clutter isn't just aesthetically messy. For a lot of neurodivergent kids and adults, it creates genuine anxiety. The mess triggers dysregulation. But the executive function challenges that created the mess also make it hard to clean up. It's a real loop. And I think I mask a lot around organization. I have to be way more structured than I have ever naturally wanted to be, because if I'm not holding the organization system together for everyone else in the household, it falls apart. The mental load of tracking appointments, chores, food, advocating for services, following up on referrals, it's a lot to carry. And if you feel that way, you're not imagining it. Planning and coordinating tasks. Planning involves looking at something that needs to happen, break it into steps, and start. That last part, start, is where a lot of neurodivergent people get stuck. Task initiation is genuinely hard when your brain doesn't generate that automatic, okay, go signal. Coordinating tasks also requires flexibility, the ability to shift when plans change. That flexibility is hard. I personally only look at one calendar day at a time, not because I'm disorganized, but because knowing too far ahead creates rigidity, and my mind will map out that whole week. But then when plans change, it creates a lot of anxiety for me. When that one day shifts, it's still hard, but it's much more manageable for me than carrying the weight of anticipated changes that could be happening all week. For younger kids especially, unexpected transitions can lead to significant behavioral responses. I've noticed with my oldest 3 that when they hit around the ages of 4 and 5, they especially had a hard time with unexpected or abrupt transitions or plan changes, and their behavior could escalate quickly. Screaming, hitting, throwing, damaging things. But what helped was not punishment. It was understanding what was driving it and responding to the need underneath, which I know can be hard, especially in the moment when things are tense. And then this goes into emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is a part of executive function. You know that moment when you shut off the tablet and then all of a sudden your child is screaming, they're starving, and they need to go to the bathroom all at once? The thumb manipulation or having a bad attitude about the screen turning off, while they were regulated and engaged in something that they loved, their brain was not monitoring their body's needs. So the second that regulating activity shut off, everything hit at once. Or on the flip side, your kid is happy, playing, seemingly fine. One seemingly small thing happens, and then they're yelling and completely dysregulated within seconds. The window between okay and not okay can be very small for neurodivergent kids, especially when other factors are added on, like being tired or hungry. Hunger and fatigue are some of the biggest dysregulation triggers we deal with. In the community, I've seen many people regard emotional dysregulation as a character flaw, but it's not. It's a skill, and it's one that develops later and slowly in neurodivergent brains, which means it isn't our job to punish dysregulation. It's really to support the nervous system so that regulation becomes possible. Because kids that feel better will do better. So, what does this mean for you as a parent? When you understand that executive function is a neurological difference and not a choice, it reframes everything. The lost pencils, the meltdowns at transitions, the inability to start a task, the mess that never gets cleaned up. These aren't your child refusing. This is your child's brain working the way it works. And this can be very hard for a parent to manage. And it doesn't mean that we do not work on these skills. We absolutely do. But we work on them differently with support structures, external cues, environmental changes, and patience that accounts for where their brain actually is and not for where we wish it was. Future videos in this series are going to get into specific supports. Visuals, timers, routines, body-based tools, but this is the foundation. Understanding what's happening is always the first step. I'm Mary Ellen. Thanks for being here. If this made you feel a little less alone, subscribing is a simple way to stay connected to support like this. And if you want the beginning of this series, the full Parenting Neurodivergent Kids playlist is linked below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.